It's time to bring on stage Emily Jepez, one of our rockstar Sandler trainers from Sandler in Charleston. And she's going to be talking about modern prospecting mistakes and what you can do to fix those and avoid those. I'm definitely excited about this one. And I know a lot of you have been excited about getting the tactical information about, like, okay, I'm a salesperson. I'm excited about AI now. I just heard Michael and Dave talk about it. Like, let's go. How do I use it? And more importantly, how do I use it without messing things up? We heard a lot of fears there earlier as well. So Emily, with that, I'll let you take it away. Thank you so much for presenting with us today. Emily Jepez.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. I'm happy to be here. You may be wondering, why in the world is there a wall of safety helmets behind me? I am actually on site with a client today, Cask America, that manufactures safety helmets, and they were kind enough to take some time out of our training today to set me up in the product room. So although you can't see it, I do actually have a live studio audience here, which is pretty cool. So I am really excited about this topic. First of all, I'm one of those weirdos where prospecting is one of my favorite topics to talk about, but that's a good thing, because I will say that the vast majority of our clients, when they come to us for the first time and they start to explore engaging with Sandler, prospecting is one of the major pain points. It's not always the only thing that they come to us with, but prospecting is often a big, scary sticking point. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. The primary reason is just that our human fear of rejection and our fear of and dislike of prospecting. But on top of that, I think equal to that challenge of fear is just this uncertainty around behavior and technique. This uncertainty around what is the best way to do it in a way that actually works. And a lot of times what we hear is sales leaders who have grown up in the industry that they're now leading a sales team in, and business owners have said, you know, I've told them what I did. I've told them what I would do. I've taught them the way that I did it, 20 years ago, but it's just not clicking. I think there's an assumption that maybe the salespeople just aren't getting it. But I'm going to challenge that to say, maybe the landscape has changed. Maybe the problem is buyers aren't receptive to the way that things used to be. So I want to walk through a series of things with you that, through our observation working with teams and prospecting, have become common mistakes that we see that we can avoid. So at the root of all of this, and if you have any experience with Sandler at all, we love rules. So one of our rules is, if your competition does it, stop doing it right away. And I love this one because our top challenge within prospecting in 2023 and 2024 is standing out from the competition. Anybody who is in any sort of a leadership role, and even if you're not in your organization, that you get a deluge of prospecting attempts in your inbox, in your voicemail, in your LinkedIn every single day. So the biggest challenge is actually being seen and getting the attention of our prospects. So I want to talk about that. Here they are. I've got 6 mistakes that I'm going to cover, and of course, what to do instead. Our first one is lack of real personalization. Now, we can handle a lot of that by using our AI tools and really doing our research. But these are the types of messages that I'm sure you get. I get them all the time. It says, looks like we have some mutual connections. I'd love to learn more about your business. In 2023, looks like we have some mutual connections should be taken out of your repertoire. Okay, should be taken completely out of your repertoire, because it's no longer enough to get the attention of a prospect. There are attempts made often to make it feel personalized, which might have worked 10 years ago. Things like saying my first name, Emily, I've been hearing buzz about your company. Or I noticed your skills as a coach, so I'm trying to make sure that that I recognize that you're a coach, right? Or seems like you're doing some great work at Sandler Performance Partners, our company name. So I insert that, feels personalized, right? This is the thing we have to be careful of companies that sell us things that claim that they're going to prospect to our prospects and make it personalized. Usually what that means by making it personalized is they're going to use names, they're going to use company names, etc. But buyers today, see right through it. You know that you do, right? They see right through it. It looks like a sales email. It smells like a sales email. It's going in the delete. So what do we do instead? What do we do instead? Well, we have to work really, really hard on the front end before we ever reach out. And this goes back to what Michael talked about with trust. Before we ever reach out, to find some things that we can talk about when we reach out that make the case to our prospects that of all the people in the world, you, Mr. or Ms. Prospect, are the only person on the planet who could have received this particular message. It's not the easy button. It's not the easy button, right? But that's our reality. So let me give you an example. And I have permission from my client, Push, if you're here, hello, to share this. And depending upon your screen size, I'll go ahead and read it out for you. But one of our clients sent this as a LinkedIn message. This is the first message that she sent. Hi, Andy. Thanks for connecting. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles activation at Comic-Con was amazing. I walked by as you were starting to let people through, and wow, that was a big line. Do you have your own team of brand ambassadors for those activations, or do you use an agency? Right? Only way that Andy was going to get that message is if Caitlin was actually there, noticed it, made a note of it, and went back to reach out to Andy to say, hey, I saw it. I'd like to talk to you, right? And what I love about this and the screenshot is that Andy actually, his first response was, great outbound message. It definitely has been the most impressive I have seen in quite some time, so hats off. And then he answered her question about, do you use a team of brand ambassadors or do you use an agency, right? So now you may be thinking, oh, that's not going to work for me. That seems cutesy and that's not going to work in my industry. Well, sure, I've heard that from people, but it doesn't really matter what you say that you find in order to show that you're the only person who received this message, as long as you do your homework and find, hey, I've done my research and I can tell that these are things that you might care about, and that's what I'm going to lead with. In this case, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles activation was perfect for this prospect, but I know that your prospects are different. You may have to find something else. We can use AI to help us. We can use Humantic. We can look and see what they're posting on their own LinkedIn. We can look and see what their company page is posting. We can look on Google search, but we've got to find something that shows them, I've done my research, I care, and I'm reaching out to you intently. The next thing, weak or misaligned CTAs. CTAs in our world means call to action. So in the old days, we might have reached out to a prospect and given the kind of alternate choice close. Are you available on either Tuesday or Thursday at 10 a.m., right? When we have no relationship prior. And let's be honest, it's premature, it's too soon. So I want to come back to Caitlin's example. She did the hyper-personalized intro, but then her call to action was simply a test for possible fit and openness. Do you have your own team of brand ambassadors for these activations, or do you use an agency? She didn't come out straight from the first reach out and ask for a meeting because it's premature. Now, I got married before dating apps were really a thing, but from what I understand from my friends who are using them today, what I understand is that you text back and forth, you communicate a little bit before there's the should we meet in person. And really, it's not really any different, right? It's just a little too soon to go straight out and ask for the meeting when we haven't warmed up that conversation. Additionally, when I'm asking questions about fit or openness, like, do you even have your own team? Is this even something that might be a possible fit? I'm showing my equal business stature as well. I'm not trying to push something on you that you don't necessarily need. So in our world, a question that we might ask if we're reaching out to somebody and we're trying to figure out if there's a fit because we have equal business stature would be, are you currently engaged in the outside sales training? Are you have you ever hired an outside sales trainer? Do you have anybody now? Is that something that is even on your radar, right? I'm going to test for openness. I'm going to test for fit before I get to asking for the meeting. What we know from the data as recent as 2022, and I believe this is still just in experience and talking to clients and using it myself is still the case, is that the strongest and most effective call to actions are call to actions that are asking, is there an interest? So maybe I warm up the conversation first, I test for some fit, and then if there seems to be an interest, my next question is simply, is there an interest in us finding a time to get together to talk about this, right? Is there an interest in us having a conversation? Would you be open to having a conversation? Or even would you be against a conversation to figure out if there's anything here? That is my call to action, not when can you meet? Because if I get a yes to interest, I now have full reign to say, hey, all right, now let's schedule, right? But we're building rapport, we're building trust, we're showing that we're not pushy and weird, right? Number 3, failure to pick up the phone. Now, I'll tell you what I hear a lot. I hear a lot that, well, Emily, you tell me to make phone calls, but every time I actually hear back from a prospect, they email me back. They never call me back. And that's absolutely okay, right? The purpose of the phone call is not that I actually think they're going to answer most of the time, and not that I actually think that they're going to call my phone back. The purpose of the phone call is to show that I am using everything within my power to get in touch with this individual. So back to real personalization, right? I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to leave a voicemail that says, hey, since I didn't catch you, I'm going to send you an email explaining why I'm reaching out. I'm not going to ask them to call me back. I'm not going to give them a sales pitch. All I'm doing is connecting the dots, that I am the same person who is trying to reach you via email, who's trying to reach you via LinkedIn, right? I'm using all of the different tools at my disposal because I don't necessarily know, when I'm talking to a prospect or reaching out for them for the first time, the best way to get in touch with them. We all know people, you may be some of them, where email is practically useless to get through to you unless you're from within your organization. You just get too much junk, right? We also know people who never log into LinkedIn. Okay. I also know people who their voicemail is always full or they never seem to listen to it. And we don't know what we're dealing with when we're reaching out to a prospect for the first time. So we've got to use all of the tools at our disposal and figure out where we can find them. When we actually catch them on the phone, which does happen when you try it, usually what you'll hear is, oh, good on you for calling. Yeah, I never saw any of your emails, right? And what we know from the data is that this is common practice with top performers. Top performers make 82% more calls than low performers and send 26% fewer unsolicited emails. There is, I think, a fallacy that is pervasive within the sales and prospecting world that phone calls have gone the way of the dinosaurs. And that is absolutely not the case. Phone calls are the new pattern interrupt. So if you're not a Sandler person, when I say pattern interrupt, what I mean is we're doing something different than what our competition is all doing. We're trying to break through the noise. Okay. Number 4. Not using combos. Let me tell you what I mean by combos. Combos is on a single day, I am reaching out to the same prospect from more than one channel. So on day 1, and this is my practice, this is the practice of most of our clients, is I'm going to leave them a voicemail first, and then I'm going to send them a LinkedIn connection request, and then I'm going to send them an email. Yes, all in day 1. And I realize that on the surface, that sounds like overkill. That sounds pushy. But listen to the technique on this. The technique is, if I don't catch them, hey, this is Emily from Sandler. Listen, since I didn't catch you, I'm going to send you an email and explain why I'm reaching out. I'm also sending you a LinkedIn connection request to put a face with a name. Click. I'm going to go on LinkedIn. I'm going to send them a request. I may or may not put a little note in, but if I do, it's not a sales pitch. It's putting a face with a name, left you a voicemail and email today as well. That's it. Then I'm going to send them an email and I'm going to do a little bit of fishing for pain. Is this a thing? Should we talk, any interest here? Does this sound relevant? Right? But I'm going to do all of that on day 1. And the only way I can get away with it is because I'm not giving a sales pitch 3 times. I'm simply using every one of those channels as a way to clear the smoke, to say of all of the reach outs that you're getting on a given day, there's this person named Emily from Sandler who is really trying to get in touch with you. Right? That's the purpose of the combos. We know, my background is advertising. We know from an advertising perspective that people have to hear your name, your company name, many, many times before it even begins to register that you exist. And then after that, to begin to understand what it is that you sell and what it is that you do, right? So by loading these touch points early, starting with 3, maybe a couple days later, leaving another voicemail, sending another email, I'm trying to preload those touch points to begin to create a recognition that I exist and that I'm trying to get in touch with them. All right. Number 5, short or sporadic cadence. This cannot be overemphasized. What we see often is that salespeople will send, usually as a starting point, maybe an email, and then maybe leave a voicemail maybe a week later, maybe wait 1 or 2 weeks, send another email, wait 1 or 2 weeks, wait 3 weeks even, send another email. The problem is, if I'm a decision maker receiving these messages at such a spread out cadence, I can't even begin to piece together that you exist and that you're trying to reach out to me. You might as well be peeing in the ocean because ain't nobody gonna see it, right? It's just not enough to actually get attention. So instead, what we need to be doing is have a plan. Day 1, maybe I'm making three touches, and it goes through maybe 30 days. I use this as an example because this was put together by our friends over at Vidyard. Vidyard, you're probably on this call. Hello. Beautiful cadence. I share this with all of my clients because it's a really good place to start. 30 days of concentrated activity around a specific prospect. What this means is that I might sit down on day 1 and block out a big chunk of time where I am making my day 1 attempts for a list of 20 people, right? But if I get busy and day 3 comes by and I don't get to the touch, day 5 comes by and I don't get to the touch, I need to start over, right? So here's the risk. If I start the cadence, I need to finish the cadence because that's the only way it's going to be effective. Fair warning, and I think it's really good to expect this as salespeople, is that if I block off a day where I am making all of my day 1 contacts, and then I do my day 3, and then I do my day 5, I get to the end of the first week, I might not hear back from anybody, and that is absolutely normal, absolutely to be expected. So to manage expectations, your upfront contract with this is, it's going to take a couple of weeks before you begin to start getting responses back because that is the nature of the game. That's how that works. We're starting to create some awareness that we're trying to reach out to these prospects, which means I've got a time block day 3. I've got a time block day 5. I've got a time block all of these so that I am sure to follow my cadence. When I say short and sporadic, often what I mean is, we'll have time one morning and we'll block it out and we'll do a bunch of work and then we don't touch those prospects again for a month or so. I don't want you to waste the effort that you spend prospecting. It's most salespeople's least favorite activity. So if I'm going to do it, I want to do it right. I want to commit to it, right? If we feel like our pipeline is not as large as we like, we don't have meetings scheduled, we've got to look back 2 to 4 weeks or more. What were we not doing or doing poorly several weeks ago that is the reason my pipeline is empty now? I can put my foot back on the gas, but I'm looking out a few weeks before I start to see those appointments get on the calendar, and that's completely normal, so expect it. Okay, last one, ignoring your digital presence. So this has to do with the fact that the buyer's journey in 2023, and yes, this is B2B as well, is to Google you before they ever decide whether or not they're going to have a conversation with you. Now, can I promise that every single buyer that you reach out to is going to put you into the old Google machine before they decide to answer you or not? No. But even if one good prospect does and they don't like what they see, that's a problem. We have, we actually heard from the mouth directly of and I have permission to share this directly from a procurement person from GE who said, the first thing I do when somebody reaches out to me is I look them up. That is the very first thing I do from a pretty large procurement department, right? So expect to be Googled. Not everybody will, but a lot of them will. And usually what they're going to see at the top, if they put your name in, is your LinkedIn profile. Hi Dylan, shout out to Dylan. Dylan is one of our clients and he's with Elios Technologies, and he did a fantastic job of going into his profile and making sure that any prospect who looks him up really understands what Elios does, who he is, that he's engaged in the work, that he's active in understanding the industry, and that he's here to serve customers. So starting with the banner at the top that's very nicely branded, looks very professional. We don't need professional headshots. If you don't have them, use your iPhone or your smartphone. It works just fine. And I want to point out that underneath his name, you'll see in that custom driver apps, enhanced driver experience, etc., that Dylan has shown exactly what he does. Underneath your name, that little tagline is what shows when you're all over LinkedIn. So we wanted to show what you do, what industry are you in, so that if somebody sees you on some other page, they're able to make the connection. Usually what we see as the default, unless you go in and change it, is it has your title. So it might say territory manager. Well, I don't know, territory manager for who, what industry. It's not particularly compelling to me if I happen to stumble across you on LinkedIn. But if I look you up, I want your profile to read to me as a prospect or me as a possible customer. And most LinkedIn profiles, until we go in and intentionally rewrite it to read to a customer, they actually read as if we're job hunting. They're selling us as individuals for a job. They're not selling our company. They're not selling our products. They're not selling our services. So you see what Dylan has done here is it says, Elios helps trucking companies build their own custom mobile driver app that provides executives with the power and leverage to effectively overcome their biggest, most frustrating business challenges, right? Now I know that if I'm working with Dylan, he is fully ingrained in the industry and he's not looking for another job, right? Back to the buyer journey is that buyers want to work with salespeople who are able to provide a high level of understanding that allows them to kind of make sense. The word is sense making, that provide a high level of sense making for all of the different stuff that they've already looked up on their own before we ever came to the table, right? So part of our job is to show that we're able to do that. Okay, so here they are, the 6 reasons or 6 modern prospecting mistakes, things that we do that can get us in trouble. Lack of real personalization, weak or misaligned call to actions, failure to pick up the phone, not using combos, short or sporadic cadence, and ignoring your digital presence. Here's what I ask of you. What lever could you potentially pull in your prospecting strategy? One of these levers, think about it as an experiment. I'm going to pull this lever. I'm going to change my call to actions, for example, and I'm going to start using interest call to actions instead of appointment. Can we meet? Call to actions. Pull that lever and see what happens. Have some fun with it, right? Work phone calls into your prospecting cadence, see what happens. Try combos, see what happens, right? Every one of these levers is going to increase your success rate when it comes to prospecting. So it's fun to try for your industry, for your role. What are the most important things? And this is a really good place to start. Okay, I promise to deliver tactical, real life examples of things that you can do to make your prospecting better. And we'll carry that theme into the Sandler Summit for 2024. I will be there speaking, so I'm going to give you a little plug here. The theme of that talk is what to do when things don't go as planned. So I'll specifically be talking about theory versus reality. In theory, I should be able to talk to all decision makers, for example, get all of them in the room at the same time. Reality is that is not always, that's not always going to happen, right? So then what? So if you want more tactical stuff, if you want to learn from me and other leaders of the Sandler Summit, we hope to see you in March. in Orlando.
And don't forget, you can join us live in Orlando for the Sandler Summit. We're going to be getting our best trainers and our top clients from around the world together March 19th and 20th in Orlando. Go to sandler.com/summit for more information.